So again, do your painting on the block, then you cut it off. Okay, if you have a single sheet of paper, you can usually tape that to a piece of masonite or a piece of wood. It'll do the same thing. The idea is you want to have your paper stable so that when you put the liquid on there, it doesn't curl up and doesn't change, because what will happen is the liquid will go where their path of least resistance is, and it'll fall into valleys, or if your paper starts to curl and buckle, then you lose control of it. One thing to be aware of when you buy paper are actually three things. You want to be aware of the size. This is a nice desktop size, so it's a 12 by 16 inch pad or block. The surface here is called cold pressed. Watercolor paper comes in three surfaces: hot pressed, cold pressed, and rough. Rough, as the name would imply, is a very textured surface. Hot press is at the other end of the spectrum, which is a very slick surface. And cold pressed is right in between, which gives you a little bit of tooth, but a smooth enough surface that you can get detail if you want. So I tend to like the cold pressed surface.
What's tooth?
Tooth is, you can feel, is the texture of the paper. And when it's textured, it acts kind of like a paper towel in a way that it absorbs the washes that you put down. So it gives you a little bit of absorption capacity, and that's what you want. On a hot press surface, the paint is a little more difficult to control because the paper's slick, and so it sort of slides around on the top a little bit. It's a little unpredictable. A lot of illustrators like to use hot press because it's real smooth and you can use an ink line on it as well as using a brush. But I find the paper I like the best is a cold press surface, which is what I have here. Arches is a French make. It's not cheap, but it's really, in my opinion, it's really good paper, and it's consistent in quality. But there's lots of different makes of paper. The things you want to look for, again, is the size that you want to work in. You want to look for the surface of the paper, and you want to make sure it is watercolor paper, not sketch paper that accepts watercolor. I mean, that's just lightweight paper that you can put light washes on, but it'll still buckle. The thing that guarantees you your stability is what I call the poundage. You don't want to paint on anything less than 140 pound paper, okay? Obviously this doesn't weigh 140 pounds, but how they measure paper in the market is a 22 by 28 size sheet, which is the standard size of watercolor paper. 500 sheets of this thickness of paper in a 22 by 28 size weighs 140 pounds. Okay? For your purposes, all it is 140 pound paper is a certain thickness. And you want it to be thick enough and sturdy enough that it will stand up to water. Pure and simple.